Hey guys, this is Torno. Today we have the July 2024 quarterly update from the Commander, official Commander Rules Committee. I've got a couple of things I want to talk about with this, so let's go through it because, I want to kind of keep you guys up to date. It's news and stuff, as well as I just really dislike some things that they do here. So this is obviously, their quarterly update. They do this once a quarter, and essentially it's what they're going to ban and everything. If you don't know, Commander has a separate bans list to what Wizards of the Coast manages. They have a very, they handle it themselves. Wizards isn't interfering with it or anything. It's just purely up to the actual kind of committee here. So essentially, they talk here a little bit about the fact that they banned stickers and attractions. Wizards of the Coast banned stickers and attractions from all of their tournaments. And they said, look, they're not banned in Commander, though. Perfectly reasonable. I think, there is some interesting things that you can have from stickers and attractions there. And then they talk here about Nadu, saying about how Nadu essentially has drawn out non-deterministic turns that may or may not end the game, which we've talked about a little bit here on the channel. And I think everyone's kind of experienced a little bit if you've come up against a Nadu, essentially because of the way Nadu's ability works. If they start going, that does not necessarily mean that they are going to win, which means that it's resembling something like the Paradox engine, which isn't fun to play against. And, because of the fact that the turns just go on and on and on, and you have to see if you're going to win or anything, they kind of leaving it alone at the moment, and they haven't banned him, but he's kind of on their watch list essentially, and said, like, if you want to share your experience playing with him, then head on over to the Discord and join in the discussion. So the changes are, there are no changes. There is absolutely no changes to Commander for the next, 3 months. Now, they did say here that they are working on enabling or allowing people to be able to use the silver border cards, including the cards from the unset, essentially giving players with the tools they need to communicate their preferences and arrive at a shared set of expectations, which is essentially just more official Rule 0, I guess, for it, because I think, if people want to use silver border cards and stuff like that, then they essentially can at the moment, as long as you say that it's okay. So I guess this is some kind of, I don't entirely want to know what they're trying to work on here. It says, we want to put the collective expertise of the Commander Advisory Group and Rules Committee to work in classifying the cards that are generally fine, the cards that can be fine with a little bit of work, and the cards that people can generally steer clear of. This, to me, seems like they're essentially creating not like a tier list, but almost like a separate list of the silver border cards, which is an interesting thing if they're trying to do that. There's a group of folks out there who love playing with them. We want to remove as much friction from their pre-game conversations. It's set to conclude by the end of August, and we'll have an update to communicate more in September's quarterly update alongside Duskmorn. So next quarterly update is in 2 months. So this is all nothing changed, essentially. Like, they're essentially saying, no changes in the foreseeable future for a lot of stuff, and said, we're keeping an eye on Nadu. Now, my issue with this is going to be summarized by this. Lutri, specifically Lutri. There are other cards in here that I do kind of agree with could be on a very similar list, but Lutri is the main issue that I have with this, is that Lutri is banned and has been banned prior to even being printed, I believe. She's in a unique category of banned cards that interact poorly with the structure of the format. If you don't know, essentially because of the way Lutri works, every person who runs and has, Izzet in their color scheme, except for if you've got a Dragon's Approach deck, and I don't know if there's a blue version of it, could essentially run Lutri as a 101st card and an 8th card in hand. For a start, you need to pay 3 now to be able to get Lutri in your hand, but Lutri doesn't really have an issue by herself. it's only if you ran her as a companion that there would be an issue, right? Because the issue is, that everyone could run her because of the way that the actual companion rules worked. This is really, to be honest, still disappointing that Lutri is still banned. And I think, they had an article, 2 months ago talking about my take on why we don't have Banda's commander. They said essentially here, the first thing to note is more rules is not a thing to aspire to. That's not due to a belief that people aren't smart enough to handle them, but there's already a lot of rules and each one introduces an additional burden. I don't agree with that, really. In nature, yes, I do. In a vacuum, I do think that it does make sense that, more bans or more complicated bans like this would add an additional rule, but I don't think that this is much further than just having the cards on the list, right? Secondly, the ban list, which is part of the rules, is incredibly small in proportion to the size of the card pool. Shrinking the ban list is not the goal, and there's space to grow if necessary. And then, they also talk about the fact that cards that currently might not be banned if they couldn't be a commander, but that overlooks an important caveat. Getting them off the main list and onto a secondary list doesn't make the rules shorter and doesn't make the format better as a whole. This part here I disagree with. I do think that, having 2 separate bans list makes sense and that it would be easy enough to do. Lutri being on a 3rd ban list on a side banned as a companion, with literally being the only one that would be on that list. I don't understand why that is such a huge, burden on people, or why it would be a struggle for people to be able to understand. Do you guys agree with me? Do you think that Lutri being on a banned as companion list would be too complicated, or what? An additional burden? Do you think it would be enough an additional burden, therefore, to justify not being able to do it? There's other cards in here that could be unbanned if they were as a commander and stuff. Golos, I think, is a big one here, that if Golos wasn't a commander, then it wouldn't be quite as bad. But I think there's other ones in here that could be unbanned as a commander, banned as a commander, but unbanned in the 99. I don't think that it would take too much to be able to do that. And honestly, I think the same could be said about Nadu, honestly. Nadu could just be in the 99, but maybe that's just kind of me thinking that. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. That's it for today. Have a great day and goodbye.